Fast 5 starts where the last film ended. Dom is transported to jail, and Brian, Mia, and two other of his friends, who were minion characters so far in the franchise, decide to bust him out. They make the bus crash, which is a risky tactic, at least if you care whether your friend will survive. But Dom makes it. O'Connor and Mia become fugitives hunted through the country. So they go to Brazil. Well, at least Brian and Mia. They get in touch with Vince. You remember Vince, right? He was into Mia in the first part, but now he has a wife and kids in favelas. He gives them shelter and offers a job. It's a good old-fashioned train robbery, and Dom is also there. They steal some cars, and it turns out that they are stealing from DEA, and that was not part of the deal. Brian almost dies in flames. A typical day at work for those guys. But at the end, Dom and Brian get captured by Hernan Reyes. This guy threatens Dom, and at this point we all know how it ends. They meet back with Mia, and she tells them the government blames them for the train heist, so now they are even more wanted. But it also turns out that they got the car that Reyes wanted the most. Luke Hobbs from DEA arrives to lead the team that is ordered to capture Fast and Furious. Vince shows up and Brian is not trusting him. That is funny, because actually Vince was the one who did not trust him in the first place, in the first movie. And he was right. Brian was a cop working undercover back then. Vince explains that he did not know this job is a setup. Now he wants the chip from the Ford GT that Reyes wants so badly. Dom tells him to get out, and Vince can't believe 4 movies later Dom still picks Brian over him. Elena Neves joins Hobbs as a translator. He picked her because he trusts her since she lost a husband in drug wars. Also, Hobbs gets intel that, according to the tracks, one car headed the other way. He figures it must have been that missing Ford GT. Brian analyzes the chip found in Ford GT and turns out it's a delivery schedule. Meanwhile, Hobbs arrives at the favela and finds their hideout. The trio escapes through the rooftops. Dom loses Hobbs, but Neves corners him. Soon some thugs show up and open fire. Dom saves her life, and Dom is like,
"Hey, how you doing?"
She is so busy picking their future kids' names that she just lets him escape. When the trio meets later, Mia reveals that she is pregnant. Dom is happy for them. Back at DEA, Neves is like, "Do we really have to arrest this Toretto guy? He is so cute." Then she points that it looks more like something Reyes would do. Hobbs is like, "Okay, first Reyes, then Toretto." Dom tells Brian that they will use the chip to steal Reyes' drug money and then they will disappear. And they assemble the team. So time for the franchise reunion. Han, Roman, Tej, Rico, Tego, and Giselle are invited. And yeah, if you are confused about Han, who died in Tokyo Drift, this plot is actually earlier in chronology, so he lives and eats chips. The plan is to hit all the spots on the map that is on that chip with $100 million at stakes. They start with raiding one of the safe houses just to show their faces and burn the money they found there. They want to send a message to Reyes. Hobbs finds out that Ford GT misses the chip, and Reyes gets informed that Toretto's crew attacked his safe house just to mess up with him. He orders to gather all the cash in one place and secure it at the police station. Meanwhile, Hobbs finds out that Dom gathered all his crew in Rio. Dom sends Roman to drop a siping device to the police station. That way Tej discovers a safe. Han gets them a copy of that safe so Tej can practice opening it. Giselle gets Reyes' fingerprints by flirting with him, and Han is so impressed he already picks names for their babies. Hobbs tries to arrest Dom and Brian, but they play it cool, and Dom tells Hobbs it doesn't work that way in Brazil, and turns out it works. Also, Tej put tracker on Hobbs' car. Later that night, Dom visits Neves, and I guess you can call it a date. They decide to steal police cars so they can pass the security cameras without getting caught on them. Dom, Han, Brian, and Roman have a quarter-mile race for fun. Brian wins, but Roman and Han tell Brian it's clear that Dom let him win. Mia gets tracked by Reyes' men. Vince shows up and helps her escape. Dom appreciates that and lets him into the crew. Right before they are about to leave for the job, Hobbs shows up. Dom fights him and it's even as hell, but Dom, driven by anger, gains advantage. and though he could kill Hobbs, he stops himself. Hobbs arrests everyone, but now he has second thoughts. DA transport gets ambushed by Reyes' men. Hobbs gets injured and his men get killed. Dom and Brian save him from getting killed and escape with an armored truck. Turns out Vince got a bullet. He tells Dom that he named his son Dominic and Toretto promises to take care of his family. Dom still wants to finish the job, but everyone else wants to quit understanding it's suicide. But Hobbs decides to help Dom. So they don't even try to sneak, they just drive straight into the police station and shoot their way inside. They hook the safe to their cars and escape. That triggers an over 10-minute long chase sequence that ends on a highway, with Brian saving Dom's life. Hobbs shows up and kills Reyes, who survived the car crash. He tells Dom that he takes the money, but he will give them 24 hours advantage before he starts chasing them again. Boys leave, and when Hobbs opens the safe, it's empty because during the chase, they switched the safes as they had a spare one for practice. Remember? Tej opens it and Danza Kuduro starts playing, so that can't mean anything wrong. Yep, they get the money. So Han ends up with Giselle, Vince's family gets a fair share, Dom ends up with Neves, and they meet Brian and Mia at the beach house. Brian challenges Dom to race him, and that's how the film ends.
Let's see what you got.